They call them the rabbits of the waterways, the river's vacuum cleaner. They're koi carp. They're those monster goldfish that literally suck the lifeblood from our waterways. For now, the battle's been lost in rivers around the Waikato and Auckland, but Gray Jameson reckons he can turn it around. He wants to export the problem, export the big colourful carp live to England, where he says there's money to be made stocking ornamental ponds. Doc, though, warns that he risks spreading the pest to uncontaminated waterways. The two sides are now locked in a legal battle. This from Mike Jaspers.
I would encourage everyone that can kill a koi carp to do so.
If nobody does anything about it, well, we're looking at a major disaster in the future.
Once these waters were clear, now this murky Waikato lake is polluted with thousands of koi carp.
They're very efficient at nutrient stripping, and they turn the bottom over in waters, and everywhere that they are, they virtually displace all of the other fish species. All your waters end up being muddy brown like this and never recover while you've got those populations there. So we're just losing these tremendous assets, our lakes.
This is a typical catch, and plenty more out there. Consider a female fish weighing in at over 3 kilos.
The female of that weight can produce up to 2 to 3 million eggs. So, yeah, they certainly have the capabilities of breeding large numbers.
Koi carp are worth very little. The flesh is used for bait. Gray Jameson reckons he can make the whole business of culling carp profitable. His plan is to export the best live to England to stock ornamental ponds.
Something like this they may pay up to £200 for.
The best carp end up in these tanks.
It's a lovely fish because it's nice and bright colours. It's got quite distinct black spots in it.
Once loaded, the carp are trucked north 2 hours to Gray Jameson's fish farm in Warkworth. Well, that was the plan.
The issue is we're dealing with unwanted organisms, so what you've got to focus on is the fact that should these organisms escape from the fish farm, we've got irreversible consequences for the waterways that they escape into.
So what have you got in these ponds? How many?
There's over 1,000 koi in these ponds currently that are ready for export. They've been sorted out. We've had our Australian buyers over 4 weeks ago. They looked at them, selected them, ready for export at the time we thought we could export them, and they're ready to go now.
These are the type of fish tagged for export, but they aren't going anywhere in a hurry. Doc won't allow live export. Now the two sides are heading to court.
One thing that worries Doc is the farm may fail to separate the males from the females, so the fish may end up breeding, and the young carp may then be picked up by birds and deposited elsewhere in waters nearby, which so far are uncontaminated by carp.
A large number of koi will be held in his ponds during the breeding cycle, so breeding is likely to occur. You just simply can't guarantee that you will separate all the sexes of those fish with that number, so breeding will occur in those ponds.
It is absolutely easy to tell the difference between male and female carp at this time of year. In the off-season, it is not easy to tell the difference, but it doesn't matter because the fish will go into holding tanks and be exported straight away.
Doc's raised many issues. The carp truck could crash near waterways. The fish could escape. Even the remote chance of a plane crashing into the pond, setting free some fish.
The fact is, koi have been here for 11 years. There's been no escapes. If they'd escaped 11 years ago, there would be 1 million fish in the Warkworth River system.
Commercialisation is also a big worry for Doc.
It also encourages and is an incentive for individuals to move that species to waterways and water bodies that it currently doesn't exist in to establish their own fishing resource.
How's that? What evidence have you got of that?
Well, there are, I think this country is littered with examples of where species have been introduced and turned into pests, and we see that with, just for instance, with the possums that we currently deal with in this country.
None of this makes sense to Gray Jameson.
The reality of that is, look at our environment now. What are they saying? Do nothing? I can't quite understand where they're coming from. We're saying here's an opportunity to remove this pest fish at no cost to the public versus doing nothing and watch it expand and turning into a catastrophe like Australia.
The risks are low, the consequences are irreversible. So you're not going to find an environmental agency that will consider risks for unwanted organisms other than producing the highest bar possible for anyone to get over.
How does he get over this bar then?
He may not be able to. he may not be able to. Not certainly with his current application, he won't be able to.
But Gray Jameson's not the sort of bloke to give up without a struggle.
And Gray Jameson and Doc will square off in court next year. Now, koi carp were accidentally introduced here in the 1960s. They came in a consignment of goldfish.
Printox Printfish Common Carp Management Bait is a product that can be used selectively to control common carp in lakes and ponds. The product consists of a two-bait system. The trainer bait is used to attract fish to an area. Once fish are attracted to the area and are eating a trainer bait, a bait that contains rotenone as its active ingredient can be used to selectively remove them. The large bag contains the trainer bait. The trainer bait is used to attract the common carp to the area and get them used to eating a pelleted diet. The trainer bait is mainly composed of vegetable material, so most game fish do not find it desirable. Once the common carp have begun eating the trainer bait, then the management bait can be used to remove the fish from the area. The active ingredient in the management bait is 2.6% rotenone. The product is applied at a bait station. A bait station is simply a location in a lake or pond where common carp are likely to be found. It can be applied with an automatic feeder, or it can be applied from a boat by hand. Common carp can take from 1 to 2 weeks to become trained to eat a pelleted diet. The trainer bait is made to float so the applicator can observe the fish feeding and know what species of fish is consuming the bait. The applicator should realize that when the management bait is applied that contains the rotenone, any fish that eats that pelleted bait will likely die. So care should be taken during the application of the trainer bait to watch and see what species of fish are feeding on the trainer bait. A bait station is constructed by making a bait retention device. The bait retention device is constructed out of 4-inch diameter hand core drainage pipe joined end to end. It is weighted on 4 sides to keep it open. Placed in the lake, the weights will keep the feed ring open in a stiff breeze. In order to be killed with the management bait, fish must be actively consuming bait at a bait station. The trainer bait is composed mostly of vegetable material that carp find particularly attractive, while most game species do not. So when the management bait is applied, mainly common carp are feeding on bait. So mainly common carp are killed by the application of the management bait that contains rotenone as its active ingredient. Fish will consume the management bait just as they did the trainer bait. Applicators should closely observe the feeding of the fish on the trainer bait to ensure that the species of fish feeding on the trainer bait is indeed the species of fish that they want to remove. Fish that have consumed the management bait will begin to die within 20 minutes to several hours after consumption of the bait, depending on the water temperature. Fish will porpoise at the surface and act as though the rotenone had been poured directly into the water. Fish will continue to die in the lake for several days after the application of the management bait. Depending on the goal of the application, an applicator may want to go around and collect the dead fish or leave them to naturally degrade in the water. Applicators can expect to pick up dead fish for the next 2 to 3 days following a management bait application. It is possible to kill hundreds or thousands of common carp with a single application. Printox Printfish Common Carp Management Bait is patented in the United States and has a full EPA aquatic pesticide registration. For more information, please contact Printis Incorporated.